recording again. All right, let me go ahead and take a moment to introduce Mr. Jason Davis. Jay, I know everything about you, but I'd like you to just tell us, the audience, a little bit about yourself so we kind of know your background, and then I'll talk about why we brought you on Hardcore Dads Club here.
Well, I've been in the martial arts for about 30 years, and just in a nutshell, I have black belts, master's level ranks in Taekwondo and American Karate, and also a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under the Cross and Gracie team. Also, Matas Naguro and Pikiti Tertia Kali. I've taught Krav Maga. I've been tactical master instructors for programs like CDT and LRT, which are non-deadly force and last resort tactics. I've been a police officer, bail bondsman, bounty hunter, you name it. Like I've done a ton of stuff, but teaching martial arts just happens to be my passion. I just have a big focus on application. I love the beauty of an art, but I love to help people apply the art truthfully.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things you and I, when I started training Pikiti Tertia Kali with you, we really hit it off was just the fact of being a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Kind of gave us a specific kind of framework to see everything from. Right. Especially understanding having a resisted opponent, somebody that's resisting back.
Correct.
Yeah, you come from a really good school, Cross and Gracie, man. That's a tough school, man.
Yeah, they're phenomenal martial artists. But there's a lot of great jiu-jitsu guys out there, a lot of great jiu-jitsu schools and great lineages to come from. I mean, whether it's Gracie's or Machados or whatever, there's a lot of great ones out there.
Yeah.
I always love the atmosphere of Cross and Gracie team. My personal teacher, Professor Renato Santos, one of the most humble people I've ever met, but I would never want to get caught on the ground with him. And
yeah.
He's absolute beast,
Definitely.
But he's the nicest guy in the world, and so is Cross and Gracie Jr., super nice guy. They're humble people, but their jiu-jitsu is solid and basic, and nothing crazy or outlandish, but just solid jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
they can apply it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, they can apply it for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, and that's the thing you notice. The guys that are fighters, the guys when you have that lineage of fighters, they keep it simple, and that stuff that you don't see as much in tournaments anymore. It's still relevant when it comes to fighting. The closed guard still works in fights. The armbar, the kimura, the triangle, all those things are the things people get caught in MMA fights, and
right.
Good place to look to see like what works realistically, So,
we always kept it within our cardinal, what we call the cardinal five. We always kept our submissions boiling down to your Americanas, your kimuras, your arm bars, your collar chokes, your triangles, and we kept it like that. So no matter where we're at, no matter what you're doing, you can pretty much find one of those styles of submissions, and a lot of people fail to understand concept. That's the part that we miss, is a lot of times we fail to understand concept. As a beginner, you have a tendency to memorize an exact technique and only do it that way.
Yeah.
But once you understand concept, then you realize, hey man, all I need to triangle somebody is an arm and squeeze on both sides, basically. It doesn't matter if it's my legs, my arms, whatever.
You got to pull something. Exactly. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, not bullshitting people with it's all these little details and things like that where it is and it helps, but there usually is one specific piece that gives you that success or failure when it comes to submissions.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't gonna choke somebody out with a blood choke if you ain't squeezing off both sides of the neck.
Yep.
Exactly. If you ain't cutting off both sides, blood flow. I don't care what you do. You can call it what you want, but they ain't gonna go out.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, it's just looking at what actually makes this technique work. once you understand that, then you can adapt and modify to fit whatever situation you're in.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So one of the reasons I started training with you was your expertise in the blade. So give us a little bit a history on your training in Kali and knife defense and so forth, man.
Well, like I said, in Pikiti at this time, I hold the rank of Mantas Naguro. Of course, my goal is one day to continue on and be a Tajon. But at this point in the game, I've got over 7,000 hours invested into real training,
Sure.
not a lot of people, we don't, in Pikiti, we don't talk about training years. We talk about hours actually spent training.
Yeah.
Because you can have somebody who trains twice a week, for an hour or two each time, and you have somebody who trains 5 or 6 days a week for a couple hours each time. That's a huge difference in training.
Yeah.
You roll with some,
Later.
yeah, you roll with somebody who rolls 5 or 6 days a week versus somebody who rolls once or twice. You're going to see a huge difference
Yes,
in
absolutely.
how they move. So for me, the Pikiti is something that I have over 7,000 hours of real training time invested in, between solo and partner and seminars and all that. So um, uh, at this point with Pikiti, everything about Pikiti is blade. It's supposed to be blade conscious. I mean, whether you move empty-handed or stick or whatever, it's all supposed to be blade conscious.
Okay.
So my personal opinion, is you have double stick and you have single stick and you have the long blade, the short blade, the spotty daga, stick and dagger. You have all these different things, but I'm a big fan of empty hand versus anything,
Yeah.
because that's the most common way you're going to get caught.
Yes.
People are not walking around, I'm not walking around with a machete, in my hand,
Looking for mutual combat with another machete wielder. Yeah.
right? Look, if somebody comes up to me swinging a machete, the last thing I'm going to do is go running in,
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
no, there's other measures I'll take.
Sure.
But the reality is I'm going to have a knife on me unless I'm somewhere where they won't let me, if I'm going through the airport or something like that. I'm going to have a knife on me or my firearm. I'm going to have, I carry a tactical flashlight in my pocket all the time. So I'm going to
Sure.
have that palm stick or Kubotan type item that I can use, what I call an improvised weapon.
Sure.
I'm going to have that, a pin, something. So for me, learning the blade, um, and mastering the mechanics of the blade, with my personal favorite being the Pakal grip, the reverse grip.
Yeah.
Um,
That's an ice pick
it,
grip for anybody who doesn't know what Pakal is.
right, and that's one of those things that is, learning the blade allows me to utilize improvised weapons, pin, a flashlight, uh, even my keys. I mean, it allows me to use things, um, to protect myself. So I'm a big fan of learning the blade, um, as well as the empty hand side, what they call the pungamo. Those two are the most practical, but then learning how to deploy the blade in the middle of a fight, when need be. Um,
How did you come to some of those conclusions? Learning Pikiti, usually it's much more traditional where they show you the double stick, the single stick. Did you just kind of think of it? Was it law enforcement, you think, or more like your crowd training, or what kind of brought you to some of those conclusions?
you know what? I think a lot of people can learn that stuff, but I believe that some people just have their mind is just geared a certain way, and there's probably a lot of things that play into that. Law enforcement, I'm sure, plays a great impact into the way I view things, because nothing is a quicker teacher than to have your life on the line trying to do something, whether it's arrest somebody or chase them down, and you're putting your life on the line and you're trying to employ these techniques, and nothing will get your attention faster than trying to apply a technique. and it doesn't work, and you're in a struggle with somebody to put them in cuffs before they can hurt you.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
that's a quick teacher.
Yeah.
So a lot of, so for me, my mindset has always been, especially since law enforcement, my mindset's always been about application. And so when I learned something like Pikiti, even though we do double stick and single stick and we do all this stuff, I still look for the mechanics of, okay, how can I apply this in real time?
Yeah.
Okay, what do I need to adjust to make this realistic? And for me, you can pressure test without having to go hardcore all the time. What I talk about when we talk about empty hand, for example, or even with the stick or the blade, is simply, you might work on parrying that blade when I go to stab from a ice pick type grip, that Pakal grip. You might go and try to parry that hand, and if I go slow, it seems feasible, or if I stop, it seems feasible. But if you just follow through with the true motion of what you're going to do when you really do that technique, you'll
Yeah.
realize whether or not something's going to work or not.
Absolutely.
Meaning, if I throw a punch and you're going to parry salute and grab that punch out of midair, well, that seems perfect whenever I do like this and hold my punch out.
Yeah.
But all you got to do to realize that's not going to happen is to throw the punch and pull back. You
Yeah.
don't even have to be fast. It just needs to be true motion, meaning that what is the true motion of a punch? To hit and bring it back.
Absolutely.
So if I just do that, even that slow, people start realizing, wait a minute, I can't grab that hand.
Yes.
And
I
you
find that,
realize it doesn't
yeah,
work.
I find that to be one of the most frustrating things about Filipino martial arts, is that there seems to be like, there's always secrecy behind the move. They'll show something and you're like, there's no way in hell that is going to work. And then you've got to spend like 3 years doing it until you can find this small place of application for it. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I find like with jujitsu training, it's like, I'm showing you the shit that's going to work. You know what I mean? Day one, I'm going, hey, you're
Right.
leaving here today with something that's going to make you able to defend yourself better if somebody does this specific attack or takes you down. But it seems like everything's always like, oh, you could learn the move, but if you don't know the application, then it's kind of meaningless. So I always found that really frustrating about Kali.
Right. Well, sadly, there are people, teachers out there, and people that um, they want to teach a technique, but they don't want to give you too much because they want to always be able to give you that little bit more.
Yeah.
So they will give you just a little bit, won't really help you understand how to apply it in real time always.
Okay.
They want you to do it slow, and they'll give you a little bit, but they want you to keep asking for more, keep coming for more. They won't always want to have that ability to give you that little bit more.
Sure.
I personally feel like when I teach something, I'm going to give you everything that I got. I'm gonna, whatever it is you're searching for, I'm going to give you all the information I can give you and then some.
Absolutely.
And if I, so to speak, run out of information, that's only going to push me to go find more information.
Absolutely. I remember, my first jujitsu instructor was Ricardo Almeida. He was under Henzo. We're on a fight team, and he used to tell us, it's like, you got to make yourself obsolete. And so it's like sharing all of your information. And then obviously what happens is as you share all that information, it drives you as an instructor to keep pushing the limits and trying to find answers to all those solutions that you already have. And it actually pushes the art forward more, is what I've found. So it's like, it's scary because you're giving away all your tools, but in order to develop new tools, the only way to do it is to give your students and your training partners all the answers.
Yeah, well, to me, that's where you find out whether or not you truly are hungry to grow. You're truly an innovator. You truly understand,
Yeah.
and to me, it reveals a lot about a person whenever they pour out everything that they got and they don't hold back. That's somebody that they care about whether or not you get more than what you pay for.
Yeah.
They care about making sure that you are become better than them. You know, if I have a student and I pour out everything that I have in that student, and I don't hold, and you've trained with me, you know, I don't hold back information.
Sure.
You know, I give everything that I can give in that situation, and that just, when I give out all that information, it just forces me to learn more. It forces me to find another avenue, another perspective, another something, so that I
Yeah.
can keep growing. But if I live comfortably thinking, man, I know 100 things about this technique, but I'm only going to give them one or two at a time, so that it'll last me for 20 years, because I'm only going to give them one or two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
that how you ever going to grow like that?
Yeah. And
Like,
to find real mastery, there you've got to find kind of your own piece of that. And the only way to do that is to just keep pushing and pushing the envelope of, looking for other things to incorporate and everything else. I absolutely agree. You know.
yeah, and
Uh,
you can't fill that cup until you pour some more of it out.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, Pikiti is a phenomenal art. You have to be careful with the beauty of the art and the technicality of the art. I mean, it is such a technical art, and it's so intricate in so many ways. But you can display the beauty of the art and still understand. If you have a good teacher, you can still understand um, how to apply. The simplest thing in the world to do for me, what I do with the guys that I work with here, is I showed them, here's the concept, here's the technique. We're going to do parry salute. But when we do parry salute, here's the basic understanding. Now, when I do my punch and I pull my punch back, even slowly, I want you to understand. We'll just say, with doing a straight punch, for example.
Yeah.
If you throw that straight punch, and I do parry salute, and I go to grab right here, well, your punch isn't going to be there. And the moment the person pulls back, I realize, okay, well, when I do parry salute, I got two choices. Either I need to go to where the hand is going to end up,
Yes.
not where it's going to be at that moment, but where it's going to be at the end. I need to go to where that hand's going to go to before it can get there. I go to that point. So when they bring the hand back, it's there. I'm waiting on it.
Yes.
Um, that's the only way I can be faster than somebody who's faster than me, is go ahead and beat them to it and
Preemptively,
go.
that, yeah, figure out where it is that they're going and be there before they're going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that perspective, I either have that process or I shock the system. You know,
Yep.
all you can do to slow down somebody who's quicker than you is shock the system. You know, whether it's knuckle busting, whether it's a Ganunting strike, whether it's a split entry and hit the liver, the throat, whatever it is, if I hit them at the same time they're trying to hit me and I shock their system, then I can slow down their thought process. I can slow down their response time, their mechanics and all, which allows me to get in.
Yes.
Um, and so those are kind of the two approaches. I either beat them and get to where they're gonna be, or I shock the system so that I can get to it. But
Absolutely.
when you do that against somebody moving in a true fashion, then it allows me to then see, okay, well, I need to adjust how I move. I need to reach in more. I need to be here.
Sure.
Um, and all that changes. It allows me to look at my colleague and it goes, okay, well, this will work, but I need to adjust it slightly so that I can affect it this way or that way to make sure that it follows the true motion of the person's attack.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Oh, yeah. So, just kind of, I'm going to change pace a little bit here. What, like, as far as jujitsu guys, we can definitely see how Pikiti Tersi Kali guys could benefit from some jujitsu training, from the groundwork and things like that. What benefits have you seen for jujitsu guys that practice Kali and some of the knife defense and the empty hand techniques and so forth?
Well, really, outside of the obvious, meaning that the jujitsu guys can learn how to become blade conscious.
Sure.
Um, I know it sounds simple to think, well, how complicated can a blade be? It either thrust them with it or slash them with it.
Sure.
Um, but there are a lot of dynamics that go into controlling the blade and maneuvering that blade, that the more you understand a blade art, the more you understand the dangers of the blade,
Sure.
and how to control that blade or utilize
Absolutely.
that blade.
So the one thing that I
So
found interesting for you was that, you know, you made a believer out of your jujitsu instructor, you know, who's like hardcore jujitsu guy. And how did you kind of convince him that there might be some benefit to, even if it was like, you know, 2% training, just learning a few fundamental things to incorporate with his jujitsu training?
so my professor, Professor Hinaldo Santos, he's a fifth degree black belt under Carlton Gracie team. Um, he's the old Valley Tudo fighting. He's a hardcore dude. And and has spent the majority of his life in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Just a solid dude. And but he's old school, so he comes from that mentality. Okay, show me.
Yeah.
I need to I need to see it. And he watched me teach Kali a lot. I mean, over and over again, he would watch me teach Kali. He would see how I broke it down and how I took the intricacies of the art, and then I would show people, no, this is how you apply it in real time. This is how you can actually utilize this concept and this technique. And he saw that, and he immediately identified, well, wait a minute, those concepts are very similar to jiu-jitsu. They're very similar to how I think and move in jiu-jitsu. And after watching for a while, I actually asked him one day. I was like, we got time in between the next thing. I got a colleague class to do. I mean, would you mind jumping in and doing the class? You want to try it out, firsthand? And he did the class. And this is a guy that I would not want to grab a hold of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
last thing in the world I would want to do is have this guy grab a hold of me. And he did the Kali, and he saw, by doing it and experiencing it, he saw even more how easily you can take and adopt. I mean, literally what I taught him was how to be, because, in jiu-jitsu, you're not blade conscious.
Yeah.
You attack an Americana or an armbar, you're not thinking about the other hand.
Yes.
Yeah. You're doing some kind of leg lock or whatever. You're not thinking about somebody pulling out a gun and shooting you.
Sure. So it's a paradigm shift in the training, definitely.
Yeah, and so once you teach somebody, hey, if I can't see that other hand, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
So now whenever you do jiu-jitsu, if I'm doing an Americana or something like that, I'm conscious of the other hand, and I'm trying to make sure that other hand can't get to a weapon. So your mentality shifts, but it also shifts because I don't want to. Last thing I want to do is be rolling with somebody, and all of a sudden they pull out a gun and shoot me, or pull out a knife and stab me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once I showed him how all he had to do was learn, the blade conscious approach, and it was really simple. I mean, in jiu-jitsu, you learn how to deal with a knife stab, like, when they stab like this,
Yeah.
they
You'll
block
block
it,
with the Americana.
reach behind, yeah. The moment he did that, and I showed him how whenever he did that, I could just clear the arm and cut the neck, or I would feed and then come low and cut the body. It was
Yeah.
like,
Oh.
wait a minute. And so all I did was show him, simple Kali approaches. Look, when it comes to the blade, for example, most people's reflex is to put something in a way, to put a barrier in the way. And like Krav Maga does it with 360 defense, how they split and put a frame.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, that's people's reflex. If you teach them how to use a frame and then follow that up with like a Sagang Labo mentality, or a cross tapping or knife tapping concept, then you take somebody who goes to stab like that, and you create a frame, and then the other hand passes through, or you create a frame and you cross tap and pass through, then you can apply that in real time and get somebody trying to stab, and it's a simple concept that I showed him how to do in the class. And then I was like, look, once he got past the blade and got a hold of the arm, and I showed him how we get a hold of the arm with 2-on-1,
he's back
he
in
was
his
like,
world.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, wait a minute. This is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I'm
absolutely.
like, that's right. That's all you got to do is you use Kali as a doorway to be blade conscious. And as soon as I get past that blade and get a hold of you,
back to what you do.
then I was like, sir, all you got to do is utilize this simple technique, get past the blade, get a hold of the person and control the arm, and then you go right back to doing what you do best.
Absolutely.
Beat the crap out of them with what you do best.
You know, because the reality is this, I kind of feel like if you were to give every martial artist about 3 months of functional Kali training, like it's probably enough that they could incorporate it into their art and then have an idea of what to do with the blade, have a template of a few things. Like you guys, like you and I we're martial arts nerds. We're going to fucking, you know, take it to the extreme and know all the answers to every question. But I feel like every jiu-jitsu practitioner, I think would learn a lot from even just 3 months of training, self-defense.
Yeah. He became a huge believer. He even did that live. He did that interview with me where he was completely pushing Kali. He was like, look, all the BJJ people out there should take the time to learn Kali. It doesn't mean you have to become a Cajon in it, but learn some Kali, because once you become blade conscious and you understand how to control and maneuver that blade, look, we understand that you're going to get cut when you're trying to deal with somebody with a knife. We accept that. But can I minimize the cuts to where they're not life-threatening, to where I can get in, control the dude, and get away safely or subdue them if I have to? But
absolutely.
If you have a jiu-jitsu background or a Krav, or if you have if you're a seasoned martial artist, Kali can easily teach you how to use a blade or use an improvised weapon like a blade, or just learn how to maneuver around that blade and get in and get control of the person so that you can then utilize what you know the best. From that point, and then, like I tell people, look, if I can teach somebody day one how to apply Kali, if I can give you one, or what I call the AB concept, I'm going to give you one approach to, I'm either going to end up on the outside of your arm or the inside of your arm. If I'm in the middle, I'm getting hit, or I'm getting stabbed. So I'm either going to end up on the outside or the inside. So if I can show you the A or B concept, meaning that every technique is going to have an A concept or a B concept, meaning I'm either going to be on the outside of the arm and this is what I'm going to do, or I'm going to be on the inside of the arm and this is what I'm going to do. I've only got two. And once I show them that simple approach, and then they can apply it to a ton of attacks, then the mentality changes, and now they can rapidly deploy these techniques under pressure, because their brain is only thinking outside or inside. If I'm here, I do this. If I'm here, I do this. That's it. And once I teach somebody to function like that, then the rest of it, they can just enjoy learning the art. They can just have fun learning the art because they understand the basic concepts and principles of how to apply, and their brain is not cluttered with too much stuff.
Yes. Definitely. And I think even getting the opportunity to train with it, see that you will get cut, so that you could, if you had to ever engage somebody with a weapon, being mentally prepared for the fact that somebody's gonna die and somebody's gonna get hurt.
Are you there?
Oh, yes, sir. Yep.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, brother. Hang on.
No worries.
I think somebody. Hold on 1 second.
No problem. We're staring at a handsome picture of you.
Hold that thought. I'm gonna stop this so that
Roger.
people can't interrupt me.
Cool.
All right, so
We're back. All right. So, Jet, like I was saying, sometimes even getting the opportunity to train with, the training blade, it makes you, like you said, you get touched with the knife, and then you start to make some realizations that you're not coming out unscathed. That it's not, Power Ranger martial arts. You're gonna have to be able to prepare yourself for it. Kind of having some like some techniques that you don't like actually get an opportunity to do live. You do it perfectly, everything's great. But then when the blade, it's like if you get cut, there's some people that might really like mentally collapse if they haven't had the opportunity to prepare for that. You know what I mean?
right,
Yeah.
right. You remember when you were out here and we were training, and we were going through some of the basic drills, but you saw how the dynamic changed whenever whenever the opponent just starts resisting and stabbing, and when their intent changes and they're hell bent on sticking you with that knife.
Absolutely.
No matter
Yeah.
how you grab them, they're yanking their arm free, and they're just vicious with that attack. Your whole approach changes, your whole dynamic changes. And then
Yeah.
you start throwing stuff out the window real quick, going, man, I just need to get a hold of this. I need to get a hold of this arm and control this blade, or I need to find out how to disengage and get out of here. But your mentality changes completely. You realize how quickly you'll die when somebody tries to attack you with a knife, unless you truly understand the basics of how to apply.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, man. So I got to wrap up pretty soon here, man. Just one other question, man. It's like when I came out, what was super cool, I thought was you're kind of in the same boat as me. Is like, you're an entrepreneur doing your thing, and then managing being a dad at the same time,
Right.
and running the kids around in between doing stuff. How is that for you?
Man, it's hectic. It's crazy. My 5-year-old is in the living room right now. I'm just surprised she hasn't barged in yet.
Yeah,
So,
mine's been juggling underneath me. I've been trying to give her like snacks and stuff to keep her keep her quiet while I'm recording.
right. I mean, it's busy, but I love the lifestyle that I have, because I get to spend so much time now with my kids. I mean, just this morning I was practicing some double stick stuff, and I had 2 padded sticks out, and I was using my door. I had my door flipped open, and I was using my door to hit both sides of my door,
Yeah,
with a padded stick, just so I could drill. And she comes barging in and was like, "Oh yeah, you want some?" You know,
that's great,
and
man.
it was like, "Give me one of those padded sticks." And me and her are sitting there fighting with padded sticks, in my bedroom. She's a nut, but it's great.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know, it's great to be a dad and share that. I mean, it can get frustrating at times, but man, dude, I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. I get to see my kids all the time now. So
Absolutely. Yeah, that was real tough for me too, man. It was like when I was still working law enforcement, doing 10-hour shifts, get home, work the gym, all the training, and I was like, I can't do this, man. I'm gonna miss my kids growing up, and I was like, no way. It's worth every bit of it, man.
yeah, and I know that as a patrol officer, we did 12-hour shifts, but by the time you got off of your 12-hour shift,
Mentally, you're
and
done.
you clean your vehicle, because we couldn't always take our vehicle home. It depended.
Yeah.
But you clean your vehicle, you turn your paperwork, you finish up any computer work you might have or whatever. Man, next thing you know, it's 14 hours. Like
Exactly.
it's like, oh man. But yeah, it's I can't complain, man. I love helping other people grow. I love, what I try to tell people is I don't try to know everything, but I'll share what I do know.
Yeah.
And as I grow, I will make sure that people around me grow. I will pour out everything I got into you that I know about that subject, and
Absolutely.
then I
It
will
shows.
force
It
myself to learn
shows.
more.
I could say that personally. You give everything, man, and that's why I appreciate you, and I think that you have a good heart, man, and I love being around you, dude. So I know you got some sheepdog operations things you got down the pipeline, dude. As they start to develop, man, I'd love to have you on again, and we'll talk about some of that stuff, what you're doing, and how to
For
get involved
sure.
in that.
For sure. And let me share, if you don't mind, I'll share one more thing too.
Absolutely.
Um, I got to talk to one of my buddies, um, who was a Navy SEAL, and this dude's super awesome guy. I knew him when we were in high school, and man, this dude was little, right? A little guy. Um, Man, I saw him one year after he had been gone in the military for a while, and he comes back and he looks like a freaking tank. And he told me he was a Navy SEAL. Well, I got to talking to this guy. He's a Master Chief now, getting ready to retire. Um, so I talked to him. I was like, there's a lot of talk going around about special forces, SF groups, things like that, and how they train and stuff. And there's a lot of talk going around about that. And so I just talked to him about how they train, and you know to clear up some things. This is coming from a guy who was a Navy SEAL, who went through it. He said, "Look, Jason, the truth is yeah, SF guys, Navy SEALs, they'll start out slow and methodical, and learning something and being precise with it and really getting the technique down and so on and so forth. But he was like, look, once they get it down, man, they go all out. They train like they fight."
Yeah.
And he's like, and I was like, well, what about them worrying about, being injured, and not being able to do their job, or, the government having so much money invested in each team member, and in them, not going all out hardcore because they don't want to get hurt and not be able to do their job. And he's like, look, he goes, when they spend billions of dollars on a ship, he goes, they will put that ship to the limit and push it to its max to find out if it's going to break or not. So when they get into a battle situation, they already know what the limitations are of that ship and what it can handle, what they can push it to.
Absolutely.
And he's like, it's the same with the team members. He goes, yes, he goes, yes, they don't want them getting, hurt, but he's like, that's when we have, top of the line, they have medical resources and medical people on standby when they're training to be there to help them. He's like, but if downrange is the first time you ever apply that stuff against pressure under a combat type environment, he goes, and you're going to be in trouble. He goes, it's probably not going to work out well for you. He goes, so yeah, those guys might start off slow and smooth and methodical, but after you get it down, man, they got to push the envelope of pressure testing that technique to see if those techniques are going to fail them or whether or not they can apply them. That way, when they get into the situation, they can trust the technique.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that's in a nutshell what he said. So, that's kind of the way I like to and they stick to basics. They don't do crazy stuff. They do simple, solid, effective techniques. So, that's the way I want to pursue what I teach. I can teach the art of Pakiti. I can teach, jujitsu or whatever you want to learn. But if somebody comes to me and says, hey, man, I just want to learn how to survive this situation. How do I become proficient with both deploying a weapon and or defending myself against one, whether I'm standing or on the ground? How can I survive that? Then I merge all of the knowledge that I have together into one thing and show them just simple, easy ways. Not everybody needs to subdue somebody and hold them down. Not everybody needs to terminate the threat. Sometimes the person just needs to know there's three things. You either need to know how to get either your focus when an attack happens is, I just need to shock the system and get out. I need to make a window of escape and go. Or my job or my situation dictates that I need to control this person like a police officer or law enforcement.
Yeah.
Or maybe they come through your house, they come into your house and break in, and your situation dictates that I need to terminate the threat, but you only have the three. I either want to get out, I want to subdue and control, or I want to terminate the threat. So then you take those simple approaches, and then you teach people how to identify which one of those three is the approach they need to go for, and then you tailor the training for that approach. You don't need to give them the other approaches if that's not what the situation dictates.
Absolutely. It's like most successful things where you reverse engineer. What answer do I want to come to? And then I'm going to reverse engineer the solution to come to that conclusion. Absolutely. Awesome, man. Yeah, I really like some of the ideas, we talked about last time I went out there to train with you, that you're developing with the sheepdog stuff, dude. I think it's going to be really good, and really having the answer for your everyday guy that wants, all right, no bullshit. I don't want to just learn the art of something. What am I going to do? But learning it from a martial artist who's walked the path. And I think that's one of the most valuable things is having somebody with the real world experience, the training in those martial arts with resistance, and then being able to come up with the simplest solutions. That's hard. It's hard because you start to fall in love with what you do, and you want to show everybody all this cool stuff about it. But then having the discipline to just show your students what it is that they need, and having that solution. And I think that's really what you what you're trying to accomplish with that. And man, I think it's gonna be awesome, bro. But yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Is there any way we can contact you via email, or you got a Facebook page for Sheepdog, or anything if you want to find out more information?
Yeah, if somebody wants to reach out to me, you can do so. I mean, my email is madprofessor.abc@gmail.com. But you can find me on Facebook personally, but you can also reach out to our Facebook page, Sheepdog Operations Facebook page, and you can reach me there as well. But yeah, man, if anybody wants to learn, grow, or just hear a different perspective,
sure.
Sometimes you might have a lot of knowledge in an area, but picking up a different perspective. I mean, if I go to someone like you, for example, jiu-jitsu, right? But if I come over there with you and I roll with you or learn or train with you, we both know how to do armbar. But if you say, man, here's a sneaky little approach I like to take, man, that's a gold nugget for me, man. That's money in the bank. I like that perspective. You know what I mean? Like you can both know the same technique, but one person just has a different approach, and that approach can trigger another thing in your head that makes you go, oh man, I could use that approach.
Yeah.
Like everybody can help each other grow,
sure.
man.
Absolutely.
That's it, man.
That's awesome, dude. Awesome, brother. Well, I'm going to keep up with you, dude. We're going to talk more about some sheepdog stuff next time I get with you, dude. But love you, Jay. Mr. Jason Davis, thank you very much, sir. And we'll talk soon, brother.
All right, man. Peace. Have a good one.
All right. You too, sir.